Welcome back, everybody, to Gringos Liberados. This is episode 11, our first playoffs episode in 2024. I am 90 minutes late to this recording, personally, so thank you, RMC and Sopchan, for waiting around for me to sort my life out. They have been soldiers and are ready to go. It is currently almost 11 p.m. where I am, so we're ready to get locked in, because we could not miss the opportunity to talk about some more CBLOL, especially with some pretty fiery playoff series to go through. RMC, I hear you're a little under the weather. The plants are attacking you, the Triffids are coming for you, but you're still here, ready to talk to us.
Yep, I'm dying of allergies, and my man Trajan here 90 minutes late and flexing that he has a life on us. Come on, bro. I'm already dead.
I had to do it. I had to flex it. So, Jen,
no.
Are you in good health? At least you're not tired, you're not allergenic,
Yes.
You're just fine. That's good.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm actually, if there are any soldiers here today, it's you both, because I literally gave myself off the couple of days, and I've had this day just very chill, working out computer stuff. So I'm fine. Good to go. If you guys need to pick me up, I can make some tea. I saw that you have some there, RMC. So if you need a top up, I'm on it.
I'm not personally on tea, but you know, where I still have medicine of a kind. So you know, whatever gets you through it, right, guys? Right, Pain fans? Whatever gets you through it. But I
need the whole bottle, not just a glass.
Well, and to be fair though, RFC, you don't need to resort to substance abuse now, because you had a victory. A plain old Pain win. The playoffs have started. Pain are back. They're cooking again. 3-1. The W, super clean, never in doubt, for sure. So
definitely not me losing my voice in game 4.
No, of course not.
After seeing how they want it, definitely not.
Of course not. I gotta say, I was originally going to be doing that series with Hawk, and then we had to shuffle it around, and then it was RMC and Hawk. I'm pretty glad I didn't have to watch Kaboom lose that game 4. I'll be honest, that was a pretty frustrating way for that to happen. But I was watching the stream, and my heart was pounding, brother. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about round 1. Pain 3-1 over Kaboom. RMC, how do we actually feel about this? Because games 1 to 2, the Pain Zesties were not feeling good, but by the end of it, you know, they were kind of getting converted by what Pain were doing, I think, at least in like the gameplay that we could see. Like some of the questions they had for games 1 and 2, Karaoke on the Lee, Syndicator on the Ari, they were turning it around by the end. They were a little warmed up by game 4.
Yeah, I mean, game 3 was good. I think that's the one game that, as a color caster, I enjoyed watching from Pain. Yeah, like 1 and 2 was dicey, and 4, brother, I had to get down the rift and win the MVP myself to close that out, right?
Yeah, 4 was an INTZ game. I've never seen one, bro. Like, they just... Yeah.
It actually did remind me of the last game Pain played against INTZ. Yeah, I am not sold on this Pain roster or how they play just yet. Like, this is not going to get you deep in the playoffs. Like, you got lucky with Kaboom. You play this 10 times, I don't believe it happens again, where Kaboom just leave their base open and get distracted by Karaoke 1v2ing in the base. By Titan 1v3ing down at River. So, yeah, I am very much not convinced. And here's my problem with it. Dinkido, first of all, Dinkido, great Ari player. All of you who are complaining about his Ari, look at how he played it. He played the Ari well. That's it. Stop picking the Ari. It's Pain as a whole are not playing well. Dinka's doing good. Karaoke's doing individually good, but somehow together it's not combining. Like the Ari plus whether it's Lee Sin or Xinjiao is not convincing me from Pain.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so in the same boat. Exactly what you said there. It feels like Karaoke is playing individually, is not connecting really well. And to be fair, I think in a micro level, Jinkedo is not really performing as great on the Ari. I think many of those charms are not connecting when they were supposed to. Sometimes they were getting that spirit rush into a fight, straight into a zone of stasis instead of
moments.
Hello, when you're literally trying to, I don't know, deal damage that you know that the Ari doesn't do anymore because she's not an assassin. I know that she's more damage driven at the moment because she's not doing the glacial argument and Everfrost that we did last year. But then you're still not going to assassinate anyone. You're going to control the fight and really zone people out. But how they were playing was getting themselves out of position, and it really hurts the rest of the composition, because then when you have the bot lane trying to execute something on top, they're just trying to keep Jinkido alive as soon as he comes back from stasis. So I feel like they were uncoordinated, and as you said, it's something that cannot happen on playoffs. And if it was more matches, Kaboom would have really punished them for it. And it would
Yeah.
never happen again that we really saw minions taking a game when Kaboom didn't even ping their own nexus. That was really freaking me out. So I think many of the points on both sides weren't really convincing. But if
Yeah.
we're talking, of course, of the points to improve for the team that won, yeah, a couple of things that could be improved there for Carioca and Jinkido together.
Yeah, because I know, Soph, you're a Carioca defender, like one of the strongest Carioca defenders. You're like, this guy is really good. I want to see him be given a chance to shine. There's a great player in there. A lot of people
like
have lost
him.
faith in Carioca, but you are a stalwart fan. And I respect that because sometimes we do see it, and he was a bit disconnected, but we did see some individual pivotal plays from his Lee Sin. He does.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got any big steals in this series, but he does have a tendency to pick up some big objectives sometimes when Pain need them. So there is like a core in there that is just not coming out as often as we'd like. And then for Ninkado's Ari, man, like if you're not Knight and you're not building Medjais, you cannot be playing like this. You cannot be flexing like this, brother. It's just not gonna happen. And that was just when the Ari's behind, it's such a void, man. It's like you've got
Yes.
3 champions, not 4 now somehow. I don't know what it is. It just sucks all the power out of that place. If it goes badly, if you're not doing really well, and most of that series he was not doing really well in terms of impact on the game. He wasn't running it down. It's Ari. How it's very hard to consistently run it down on this champion. He found a couple ways, but like it's a very level, stable champion. It's hard to perform awfully in the laning phase with it, and you kind of know how that first few minutes is going to go. But I would like to see more out of him, and I think for Pain, I don't come out of this series being like, they won. That's a good sign. I come out of this series going, well, they won, but like, I'm maybe even less confident than I was, especially to say like a deep run in playoffs would be very surprising at this point with the way that the other side of the bracket played.
Yeah,
like I would
that's
not be
fair.
confident in, to be honest,
Yeah.
everywhere else in the bracket has played so far. I'd be worried about that. So we'll see how they do. Who do they have? Is it VKS they have? Or
Yep, they're up against K-Stars. K-Stars selected the winner of Kaboom and Pain. They did not want to face Red.
yeah, same, bro. Fucking
So.
same, bro. Like, yeah, like I would take Pain if I was them for sure.
Yeah.
For Kaboom, if we can debrief on them a little bit more as they've headed down into the losers bracket, House playoff House though. Not
Yeah,
actually
true.
bad. Playoffs House
Yeah.
he's beating the allegations for sure. He came into this series putting up like, I am trying to carry my team's stats without necessarily giving us the eye test to go along with that. Like we weren't necessarily seeing as much impact. We could feel it and we could read it, but we couldn't like see it. But in that series, I feel like we could see it. I feel like House was trying very hard that day, and sadly they did not get the win. But this is at least personal growth for one of my favorite players, which I'm happy about.
Oh, 100%. Considering House was on karma duty 3 out of 4 games.
Yes.
He clocked in the highest damage per minute
Yeah.
of all players in the playoffs so
only
far, which to me
supports
is
champion.
mind-blowing.
He
Yeah,
really
Karma's
is.
been nerfed. Malignance has been nerfed, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Karma's a lot weaker than she used to be. The man still clocks in the highest DPM, second highest damage share, 0.1% less than FNB. So let's basically call it
Yeah.
highest damage share with the FNB. And that to
Yeah.
me spells massive problems for the rest of Kaboom. If House is popping up and being regular season House in your playoffs, when he's top in damage charts like that, the hell else do you need in order
Yeah.
to win this? Like,
Yeah.
no one needs to step up. Natuno Seos, to me, like there's a problem down in that bot lane.
Mhm.
Seos is still putting up huge numbers with assists. So then are we saying it's Natuno who's just not performing up to standard? And I think Melrang had a great series this
Yeah.
game. Like people have been complaining he's not the Melrang we wanted. We were fooled. This is not like MVP LEC player who just permaganks 24/7. Sure, it might not be, but I think he's been very cerebral with his gameplay, and he's still finding them the engages they need. He's tanking the engages he needs to as Sejuani, eating up a lot of that poke. So to me, Maori and House are good. It's the side lanes that I am not sold by.
Yeah. I would say the same because I think that Marang is going to perform differently because it's a different ecosystem. They and I think they have been consistent, but the Draven pick really, really,
brother.
really didn't work
Oh.
for me. I think when you play the first game, it doesn't go well. Of course, you have You have a bot lane for the enemy constituted of Kalista, Ashe. They're going to really punish you early game, and then you do Draven. You're literally giving a spot for the Ashe to be hitting the arrows every single time. And then second game, they go, all right, we know the Natuno themselves can do better as early game pressure, so we give them Lucian Nami. Good, they win.
Yeah.
But then it really made a gigantic difference because it gets away the pressure from the side lane that you guys mentioned. There has been better mid lane for House plus Marang together. And then you give some breathing room so they're not trying to come back from a gold deficit that's coming out from other lanes. And when they pick Draven again, third game, and it's against the Varus as well, you're just literally given, this is where you put your abilities, Chains of Corruption, your arrows, all the damage goes in. And because they were so aggressive with Varus Nico, it's okay you have the Ashe, okay, you denied the Ashe from Kuri. Yeah, but then the Draven gets behind, and you just really have to be conscious about, I can't get killed or else I'm going to decede all of this gold. It's not going to be enough to get it back into the game. And when they did, it was too late. So I think there was not just a gameplay problem, but also a drafting problem, seriously, to me.
Yeah,
that's right.
I think Curry has to take the lion's share of the credit for absolutely flatlining the Draven. Like, just never getting caught by it, outranging it very clearly. With the Ashe, it's like super easy to do so. In the Nico, you at least have range to contest them, and you have much more effective range threat with the very easy to land stun. It's going through minions, or the root, I should say. Like, you can hold the Draven at arm's length both times, and it seems like Pain were just super ready. Like, he's picked Draven. Okay, we have the Draven answer. Oh, they banned that one. Here's the other Draven answer. And now you just, the fact that Natuno actually just got shut out by the draft that Pain was ready to pull out, and the skill for Titan and Curry is more than enough to manage a pretty struggling Natuno and Sales that cannot dominate unless they're playing Lucian Nami or Lucian Melia. That's the only thing it seems like Natuno is able to be Natuno on, is Lucian, which, fine, right? It's a very mechanical champion. I don't know why it seems to suffer on the other picks, and he looks like a changed man on Lucian right now as everyone else has dropped this champion, but I don't know if it's the wrong time to be disrespecting and thinking that you can just slam Draven and win a lane when we are in the era of Varus and Ashe support and Nico support. Like, not many people play Nico support, granted, but Curry is the one guy doing it, and he's doing it not irregularly, so we should know that this is an option. And I think they came in with a specific strategy. We hadn't seen the Draven almost at all, and they thought this was the time to bring it out. It was not the time to bring it out. This was not the bot lane to do it into. A very bad matchup to try and pull this into, and Pain just absolutely murdered them most of the time.
That to me just raises so many questions about Natuno Shampoo, right? Like, are we just down to Lucian Draven?
Surely. And not barely even Draven. Apparently, if the bot lane has like if the bot lane support isn't just Nautilus, just Alistar, just whatever, like if they have any kind of range proficiency, they're just you're done. That's tough.
Yeah, and I look at who's left for supports, right? You've got Pro Delta, Redbird, Jojo, Curry, Cabby. Literally all 5 of these guys know how to play enchanters, which, 2 years ago we joked that, oh, that's rare in CBLOL, everybody just only knows how to play engaged. But these guys, all of them have proven they can play enchanters. I mean, Pro Delta solo killed on enchanters before. Jojo's one of our most versatile supports. Seos is our MVP for a reason. Cabby is an import. You know, like all of these guys have shown they can play these sort of other, well, Seos is on their team, my bad. But in general, like all these supports, like they can't play enchanters or range. So Natuno Shampoo is a massive issue. The other thing that I really hated about that game 3 draft was, first of all, we picked 2 tanks and 2 supports with 1 Draven as your primary carry. How is it still on Karma? Like, if you want to run this composition with an orange sedge up top, what happened to Azir, man? Like, give him as a champion who can like actually carry. Okay, granted, Azir into Ahri can be.
But there's other scaling mages. You know what I mean? We have carries in the mid lane pool. Like...
Exactly. Like, it just boggles my mind they did this. And the Ornn R5 into a Renekton, Lee Sin, Ahri, Varus. Like, just like, bro,
have fun, I guess. Like,
like you could have just punished Wiser on that pick, and it just didn't happen. So I agree with what Soph was saying about draft issues coming through the boom. It's kind of weird because it's not like the drafts are necessarily bad in and of themselves. It just feels very weird given the players they have.
Yes.
Like, it's a consistent issue for them that they pick the weirdest times to pull out their weird ideas When they need to be interesting, they're too basic. When they need to be basic, they pull the weird stuff in the wrong point. I just think like whatever the strategy is in terms of composition building and maybe even potentially meta reading is just weirdly out of sync with reality for Kaboom. They've got a lot of talent there. Granted, some of the players do have to take some of the flack for underperforming in some ways, but I don't think they're being given the best tools to succeed more often than many other teams, maybe every other team in playoffs, honestly. So,
and the other joke is Game 4, they actually drafted something meta, which fits them. And guess what? They almost won.
Yeah.
Right? If you just done that from the beginning, you probably would have won.
Yeah, like that's a game that you can lose against Pain that is kind of in a vacuum is fine. Like it was a very messy CBLOL game, but you were able to show the talent that was on this roster. You were able to step up and check versus Pain a lot of the time. Like that's a fine CBLOL game to lose, in my opinion, in a vacuum. In Game 4 of the series, obviously, and that loses you series, it hurts and stings a lot more. But like on its own, fine. If Kaboom and Pain were just gonna like throw hands and pull us games like that, I'd love to watch 5 games of that. But we just lost 2 Draven games by misunderstanding the nature of and the landscape of our bot lane right now. So it was another disappointment in terms of a lot of the strategic ways. House for me was an overperformer. Malrang was very solid, and I think is also beating the allegations of people just decided that he was bad for no apparent reason that I can see, really. Like,
It's not exciting, I guess, and people got frustrated.
Like Lonely has a role that he is being forced into, and maybe we could try and manage that better. We could draft around it better. We could maybe give him more room to shine. I don't know. He's playing top lane. He's doing okay, but he's not doing enough. But I think
a therapist, man.
Yeah, I think he does. But
he looks like a broken man from last split.
But it's just the bot lane, man. The bot lane is a gaping hole, and it is unless it's Lucian Nami, it is ruining games for Kaboom. So they got to work out something, and they got to work out something fast. Now they are going against Loss, I think, in the lower bracket, right? Or are they against Loud?
So Los and Kaboom are split, and the lower seeded loser
Loud
from round 2 will play against Kaboom, because I think Los is
let's check. We have the bracket visible here. So they're waiting. They're waiting to see the lower seeded loser. Yeah.
Yeah, and the lower seeded loser of round 2 will face Kaboom. The higher seed will face those grinders.
So the worst team they can play is probably Pain again. Let's be honest.
Yes, I was gonna say, like, if Pain lose, we get a rematch there. And for Kaboom, honestly, with how round 1 went, that's probably
that could be funny, if nothing else.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
So they're not going to have like an easy ride, and as like even if they were going against Loss, I don't think that's necessarily an easy ride for them. Like Celo and Cabby are maybe they're the weakest bot lane, if not for Natuno and Seos, who are probably actually the weakest bot lane in playoffs right now somehow. So and like Loss are a pretty stable team. They don't tend to get down and dirty in the way that Titans teams can, and like Loud sometimes can. They tend to punish you pretty solidly if you do not have yourself buttoned up. So maybe they're dodging a bullet there. And we'll see, I guess, who they end up with. So they could either go against Pain. VKS is obviously the top seed, so it's not going to be them either way. And then it would be Pain or Loud or Red, realistically.
Yes. Yeah. So Pain, Loud, or Red are their possible opponents.
Yeah, we probably want to play Pain. Probably want to play Pain again. I think that we probably
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see how Loud is arriving into playoffs. We haven't seen them yet. And we did see some good games. We kept seeing some bad games in the latter half, and we'll see how Red can do against them. And we'll get onto that in a bit when we talk about the next round. But for Kaboom, still not happy. I'm happy with House. That's about all I can say. And Malrang is fine. And we've not fixed anything really. So they still have another chance to fix things. They have one more series. They have a losers bracket. And we'll see if they can find some sort of solution, if they can find comfort for the bot lane, because when they feel comfortable, they look like what they should be. They look like the bot lane that I wanted them to be, that a lot of people wanted them to be. But it's that window of comfort is so narrow, it seems, to get them into the game on the right page. It's very weird. So we'll see how they can do.
I don't know if on a good day they beat the other teams on a good day, you know?
Yeah, like if anyone else comes like prepared, I don't know if we have. I don't know if we can make up that ground in time. So I think Kaboom might be unfortunately on an 0-2 streak here. I guess we'll see if CBLOL can give us a bit more spice. But let's look at the other series. Let's look at Red and Loss. A 3-0, a fairly conclusive 3-0, I think we can say. And I
Wasn't
think
even
that,
close.
the biggest story here comes out of, as I'd put out on Twitter, my other CBLOL Blorbo, my unproblematic fave FNB in the top lane.
Yep.
Another historical playoffs choker, but from last split and to this one, we cannot use this term to describe him anymore. Certainly not. My word, what a series from FNB.
FN Beast was unleashed that series. Now, that's it. Sylvan and I were discussing a little bit before we came on, before we started recording. And I was telling myself that I don't think FNB deserved all 3 MVPs. I think game 1, game 2, certainly. Game 3, it was actually a little bit weird. I thought that he got MVP, considering that Super Clever still ran absolutely amok around everybody else. So I don't know how much of that was just a bit of bias caused by the first 2 games and how amazing FNB really was. But yeah, truly read this series though. Looked incredibly good, and I feel bad for Los Grandes because they look bad in comparison.
Yeah,
but I would still take them against Kaboom, even though Kaboom looked better in their series.
Probably, yeah. It's probably like a 5-game banger, honestly, but I think Lost probably clutches it. So maybe they get to play in the next round of losers. Who knows? Maybe they both win and against all odds, and who knows? Maybe we get to see that. But
that'd be crazy.
But for Red, I guess, moving forward, they're now going into Loud. We know that FNB is firing, and the team in general in the second half of the split has very much been firing. They have reached peak at the right time. Even like some of the weaknesses we've seen in mid and jungle, like it's been a relatively inconsistent split for Aegis and Grevthar, but we're not seeing those problems right now. I don't know, man. I feel pretty good about it, and that's against like Envy, who is certainly a very seasoned mid laner, who has been solo killing some of our best mid laners. Like, we did not see any problems like significantly in that series for them. So it's just whether we can keep this up, like, and whether we keep the momentum versus Loud, and even if they lose, if that then ruins it in a way, like, or if they can lose to Loud and still be good to come back and maybe try for another shot at it, because losing to Loud is a perfectly reasonable thing that everyone does. So we just need to not lose like the magic that we're riding on. We're riding on a big high in the red camp right now, and I hope that they can keep that going through all the playoffs.
Actually, fun fact: Brunsey has not lost to Loud till this split. And in this split, he went
This was this is the first time.
Yeah. He had the breakup buff on his side last year. Yeah. So he just won everything. That's why I was like praying that Fluxu matched up against Loud in the playoffs last split. It didn't happen, so Loud ended up winning.
They've moved on now. They're both seeing other people, you know, that they've gotten over it, and now Brunsey's losing to Loud like everyone else. So, you know, we're just balance has been restored, but it does feel bad for Brunsey, that's for sure. But as that like, is there anything else that we want to touch on for Lost, maybe? In the Lost, you mentioned Super Clever in Game 3. Do we feel like anyone else from Lost deserves some credit from that series? Like, it was a pretty swift 3-0, but is there anything else we really can say about them until we see them play again?
Kind of want to talk about their bot lane. It's not so much to their credit, though. That one's a bit of a debit. Yeah, Cello, Cabby are not... Okay, you know what? It's not even fair to say Cello, Cabby. Let's call him a spade. Cello, I love the player, man. I thought he dominated Academy despite the shenanigans that happened last split. I thought he was still one of the best AD carries. He's not hacking it here in CBLOL. He is actively weighing out on his team right now, and that's a problem. In the first game, Caitlyn Ashe, they don't take first turret. They could have. They just need like one more wave, and they just lane swapped early. Now, that might be a team call. Fine. I'll give you that. But Kate Ashe doesn't dominate. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Game 2, on Sivir, he went 0-3-0, and you picked the Sivir into this area, knowing jolly well what you're running into.
Yeah.
Had just no impact. Sure, you need a scale. Well, you need to be able to hold till you can scale. You know, 0-3 and 3-0 is not really an answer. Game 3, you pick Kai'Sa again as a counter pick to Zeri. So I think I want to say all 3 games, Cello actually had counter pick option, and the Kai'Sa just doesn't punish or isn't able to punish the Zeri. To me, that's an issue when you're getting winning matchups and not being able to actually play them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just something that doesn't feel very much connected for this bot lane, and it's very unfortunate for Super Clubber because he has been performing really well. We still have them like up there for Rookie of the Year, and you mentioned RMC that this game it felt like it was him, although losing and FNB really doing so well against him in the top lane. It still felt that Super Clubber was holding something together for loss, and it speaks volumes considering well, the main broadcast gave FNB the 3 MVPs, and FNB
Yeah.
really is performing top of their game in playoffs already. So it's like they're not gelling together, and it's enough time for them to be gelling together. But I also understand that it was a very hard matchup against Red, because it
Yeah.
could have been a moment where Red is not really at the tip top, as you guys mentioned, but they came in very strong. So
Mhm.
I understand where they were. So I hope that because we have double elimination, they are going to have the second chance to try and get things better, just like for Kaboom, maybe just understanding better how to utilize how your players enjoy playing and how that is their style, and how you can better utilize that through draft could be something to get them into the next round, maybe.
Yeah. Actually, now that you mentioned that, Sochan, I just want to kind of bounce off of that, because looking at their
Mhm,
drafts and how they played, actually, that what you said like really resonates with me. You took your
mhm,
weakest lane and your bot lane and tried to match up against Bruncey Jojo in lane. You took
mm,
Super Clever and you ran it into F and Beast. Okay,
Mhm.
granted that one was like could potentially be a 50-50. You take Envy, playoffs Envy of all
Mm.
people. Like this is the guy who we've seen carry teams in playoffs multiple times, who always wakes up and plays there. And you ran Orianna all 3 games into Grevtar, who historically has been somebody who's willing to sack his lane. So you
Yeah.
can get a free scaling lane up there with the carry, and you put
mhm.
Envy on Orianna. It does actually feel really weird
Mhm.
how you decide to play against red cannons. Again, nameplates all. Their drops are actually good. I'm happy with their drops. Nameplates all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But when you
Yeah.
turn all the nameplates back on, you suddenly realize that, wait a second, Los Grandes played their strengths. They played into Red's strengths and didn't play
Yeah.
to their own. It's really odd.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's the same similar story with Kaboom. Like it feels like the opponent read was bad for the loser in both
Yeah.
sides. The individual choices, like for loss at least, they make sense in a vacuum. But when you look at who they're against, like we're not mitigating the threats we're against right now. And Loss is a team that stands out like a sore thumb when it comes to name value in terms of these players, in terms of the experience levels.
Yeah.
Even on Kaboom, like Natuno, Seos, House, Malrank, these are, it's not working right now, but these are players that have years of experience and in some cases championships under their belt. So
Yep.
Lost needs to stand up with the biggest of boys that we have in the CBLOL, and we're not really playing around that, and we seem to have suffered in the playoffs round. It's like, Los Grandes in playoffs, they get to third that one time with the super team with the Tuno and Ranger, but this team was never expected to make a deep run. They are overperforming and they have been a wonderful surprise. But yeah, I think we did not come fully prepared against the best in the league in round one, and we'll see if they can adjust. I have faith that they will. They have been a team that, as you say, like they came together. This team knows how to play together. They were one of the most cohesive teams in the whole region, with the least reason to be cohesive out of anyone, pretty much. So
True.
we love that about them, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that it maybe was just a little bit of shell shock coming into a very hot Red who just absolutely haymakered them out the gate.
Yeah.
And just knocked them straight down to losers before anyone could remember what was happening. So we'll see how they can do with someone else who's also had to take a bit of an L, and we'll see if they can give this a better run in the losers bracket. That being said, I would not be surprised or feel bad about them or for them if they just lose again, because the other 5 teams are pretty good, and like the only one that isn't is Kaboom, and they're not against them. So it's, it's kind of, it is what it is for Los Grandes. I'm still happy with their season regardless of what happens. I do hope we get to see a little bit more from them. And if they can adjust that strategy just a little. But yeah, I mean, just like on the Super Clever one specifically, we did see him do a lot more in Game 3, as you said. And this is like, I hope that this doesn't. I don't know how CBLOL officially like kind of works out if they do a Rookie of the Split, like officially even. I'm pretty sure they do.
They do.
But,
Yeah.
but if
They
this
do
is
it
just,
at the CBLOL Awards by the end of the year.
if it's just like regular season, or if I don't want this to color any impressions of Super Clever, basically, because he went up against a very hot FNB and has to play, his options to play again are FNB again, or Playoffs Robo, or Gigod. So he's probably not going to have a lot of fun for the rest of this playoffs, unless if he gets to the next round and gets to play against Lonely, maybe we should see a bit more. But I just don't want us to end this season being like, he's just an Academy top laner, he got clapped by the best tops, because it's not fair to his story overall for that. So I do hope we get to see a little more of what Super Clever showed us, and I'm sure we will get to see a little bit of it in their next series. So, we can hope, but like I say, if it ends here for Loss, I'm not even mad. Like, it would be a normal and a reasonable thing to happen. Any more we get out of them is just a bonus for me.
100%.
Yeah.
So
Especially considering they got into playoffs like very close with Liberty.
yes,
Given that
squeaked
they went
into
in
there.
with a tie. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. They went in with a tie, and it's because of a head-to-head
Yep.
up score that Los had.
Yeah.
To be honest, if it was either of them, I would have been happy. I think both of them had their qualities to really make me feel happy about Makes or Super Clever there being rookies and doing really exceptionally well. So either way, even if they do go down, I think they did well. And I think that this next round is going to, even if they lose, is going to be something to help Super Clubbers still keep that stage of, yes, he is one of the most powerful players in their squad. So if that helps him in the end of the year, then that's a good thing for me.
Yeah, for sure. So to round up round 1, let's pick an MVP, a best player from round 1, and a bad guy from round 1. Let's pick a worst. Let's get the top and the bottom. Let's just bookend it, okay? Let's do MVP first. So it sounds like initially we certainly know who the Brazilian broadcast thought was probably the MVP because they just showered him with MVP, so they probably have a strong thought on the FN boss. Is there anyone that we think can test that, or is it, as terms of an individual valuable player, is there anyone that can stand up to him in round 1?
I think the closest other person would be Karaoke, and even that's not that close. So
I was even thinking Kuri.
True. Actually, Kuri got robbed in game 3. They gave MVP to
somebody who wasn't him, and it was insane. Yeah,
Yes, we gave it on Hevelicastas. We gave it to Kuri because we knew better.
Yeah, 100%.
I found the craziest engages in Nico. Like that,
Kuri Nico support makes me feel something, man. That guy. Just
it was so good.
Absolutely allergic to engages with less than 4 targets. I don't know how he does it, but he is crazy on this pick. It's such a strong pocket for him.
Yeah.
I still think.
I think that would be a contender
through the series, though. So I'd still have Karaoke above him, but even then, like Karaoke, I still couldn't even bring him close to FNB. FNB was just
I agree.
cracked.
Yeah, in terms of like a person who was part of some of the most pivotal moments of that series, Karaoke was at the heart of those like games, kind of 2, 3, and 4, and when the not 2, but 3 and 4, when everyone around the world was lambasting him and going, why are we still picking Lee Sin? And he went, this is why we're picking Lee Sin. And he finds like that's just the Lee Sin moment. You find the Lee Sin moment, the play that solves all the problems. Then you go, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. Because you got the kick, you got the steal, you got whatever it is, we got the win. And this is why you cannot stop junglers from picking Lee Sin, even though the champ is just objectively dumb and useless and bad. So, like, because it can do stuff like that. So, yeah, I think FMB probably takes it just for standing head and shoulders above everyone in that series. It feels like, even with a hot red, FMB was singular in that series. So biggest bad guy, also Karaoke perhaps for games 1 and 2.
True.
He's just given both awards, different parts of that series.
By the way, Payne needs to stop picking Xinjiao for Karaoke. Like, okay, so this was Lee Sin too, and he did redeem his Lee Sin, but he is now 1 and 4 on Xinjiao.
Oh, the champ is so easy. How have we done this?
I don't know. It looks really bad with the Ari though. So like,
it does, doesn't it? Ooh.
Yeah, like they've got such a clear plan, and it's just so easy to execute in theory, and it just looks so giga useless. But I think there's a potential Natuno brackets Draven for this one, maybe. Depending on how specific we get, his Draven just looked absolutely beige, like completely lifeless. And then I think Cello maybe as well, just for getting clapperoonied by bot lane. Like, do we have any redeeming features there? Because Natuno at least had the Lucian game where we were like, aha, there is.
Really.
Yeah.
That's a good shout.
I was thinking more Cello.
Might be a Cello.
Because I think that's serious. I mean, to be fair to him, he was also facing a red. Right?
Yeah. And it's tough to look good in that series.
Yeah, I personally would do Natuno just because it was quite a lot of mistakes, not just about the way they played with the Draven or how they chose to play the Draven, like in drafting the composition. I don't know. It just really weighs down more to me than what you had on the side of Lost, where you're doing Caitlyn. Okay, yeah. Not executing the best aggressive Caitlyn and Liagami. Okay, Sivir, then Kai'Sa. I don't think they're bad picks. It's just the Draven to me. You just have to be so certain of all the backup you have in your squad. And one thing the RMC said that I resonate very much with is you are relying on Atunu to have the biggest and only source of damage. How can you do anything else if you don't allow for your mid laner House with the best damage per minute to actually be the one at the center of your composition? So I kind of feel like that weighs down quite a lot to me for Natunu. And I don't know, it's not his fault how everything was drafted.
Like Ares and Bond's issue.
I agree.
Well,
but
that's the thing, right?
I just remember cringing for the Draven.
Yeah, there's a lot of chat, I think, right now about like how much do coaches actually draft champions? Do they suggest them or do they draft them? You know what I mean? And then they can be like, this is the Natuno game. I need to get this, or this is the Draven game. I need to get my mojo back, kind of thing. And who can say?
I think
like,
they do
100%?
draft from from last year, from the interviews we got. I think they do draft. So that's what the impression I had with speaking with the coaches.
Yeah.
Okay.
They would say, so I knew that he could play this against that champion.
Yeah.
I knew that my mid laner would play this against that composition, you know? So it felt to me that yes, they do that. But at the same time, if you have a kind of like disconnect between team and the coach, like you have quite a bit for Loud with Stardust, you're also thinking players that are very seasoned, very experienced, of course, but also very stubborn on how they want to draft the game, and they want to be the shot callers in regards to draft. So I think that depending on the team, you have a different approach, but usually, yes, they do. I would say they do have the choice on the whole draft.
Like Natuno, I think just feels like, because I'm still sitting in the and experiencing the gap between expectations and history to where we are right now, that just makes it hurt more. And like, we came into this where no one was really convinced by Cello, and then he lost to like maybe the best AD carry in the region, so you know, so unfortunate. But in terms of like just who got clapped the hardest, it's probably Cello, because there was just no redeeming moment. Like, there was no Lucian game, there was no moment where we were like,
actually, Sofshan, can you clarify for us for a second? Bagre, is that like, so when you call somebody a catfish, does it mean like they underperformed your expectations, or does it just mean,
or
like,
they just bad?
Like,
like, does it have any additional like context or slant to it, or is it just this guy had a terrible game? So he's
I
think
it's on the
catfished, right? It means like it was different from expectations. Right?
So you're like, I wanted it to be this, and I got very much not what I expected. Kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I think it was more the really, really below everything.
So expectations, objectively bad.
Yeah, just objective. I think this was very low performance.
Thank you for clarifying.
Cello clinches it.
No worries.
We have the official definition, or the official kind of interpretation of the text. And it is, I think, what we can give it to Cello, with Natuno coming up in the close second. Good job. So
good work.
Good work, buddy. So that's round 1 in the books. We now, as you can see here, looking forward to round 2. We're going to get to see some VKS and some Loud coming up this weekend. And RMC, you know, we've got VKS first seed, Gigod equipped in the top lane, Laleko questionably maybe, but S+ ranked, sort of, kind of. And you know, Prod's getting in gear. We found the way to use Smiley. Desamis activated and elevated. Finally, potential realized against this Pain. So how are we feeling about that? How are we feeling about VKS against this Pain Gaming? Are we thinking 4 games or 3? You know, what are we? What are we?
You know what? I sold my soul to Rude for all the Pain games in playoffs, and I'm regretting that deal. I got the short end of the stick right now.
Oh, are you doing VKS Pain this weekend?
Yeah, I am.
You are,
brother.
That's gonna be
and you
rough.
can't take it up with him because he's the head of HR, so you can't complain to anybody.
Yeah, you're right.
There's no one to say
Oh,
Titan has to save you.
Yeah.
There's no one else.
Yeah, please. Curry,
It's true.
Titan.
Please.
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 Yeah, I mean, okay, that's the big problem right now is I don't know what to expect from this Pain, right? Like, I didn't, they won some of the ugliest games against Kaboom we've seen in a while, but they did win, right? And that's the thing. And Pain is a playoff team. On paper, if we just kind of look at how both teams have performed, Pain actually still has a favorable matchup into Kate Stars, because when I look at Kate Stars right now, it feels like they're riding on the Gi God special. That's it. Like, Smalley and Pro Delta have been doing fine, but they are not, to me, pound for pound. They're probably like the second worst bot lane to me coming into the playoffs. Originally, so I thought, till we saw Natuna. Then now they're like fourth. Because I'd still take Brunsey and Jojo. I'd still take Root Redbird. I'd still take Titan Curry over that bot lane.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then you look at Leleco. And while we were doing last week's Gringos Liberados, it struck me that Leleco is not doing any damage. Like, what Leleco is just bringing to the table is a super stable mid lane that doesn't lose and knows how to get prio at the right times, which is great in the early and mid game. But as you get later and later, damage is all that matters. Albeit he's not in playoffs. But for mid laners, which is why it baffles me that House is being put on cover duty. And so for me, it's like Kate Stars need to win early or not at all, is what I suspect. Now, Desamis and Gigo are doing great, and that's where my concern sets in. Because I feel like if that win con comes online, they win. But if Pain prepare for it, I think you could shut down Gigo, or at least lock him out for a little bit. We've seen Carioca go toe-to-toe with Desamis, and if you bring the fight to Desamis, Desamis does not bring the fight to you. If you can stall out Desamis, a lot of Kate Stars early game actually gets stalled out because Desamis is sort of the ignition for the team a lot of times, as a jungler, which you ought to be. So on paper, it still feels like Pain should win this. And then I think back to all the games we've watched from Pain, and I'm just like, Pain, if they play this right, could win it. Pain have not played right for the last 3 weeks. So it's hard. I'm still gonna call for a Pain win, and I think it's gonna be 3-1 because I think if Pain understand the assignment, they win.
Yeah, I think the bot lane is where it has to come from for me, for sure. I am definitely like not super hot on Smiley. I think he's limited in terms of what he can do, and even what he's good at. I think there are players that can do it at least as good as he can, potentially better. And yeah, Pro Delta is still very solid. He's not Pain Pro Delta yet, but I believe that he is still in there. And as playoffs progresses, we might get to see that come through a little bit more. And I think, the rest of it is super solid. The top lane is explosively good, and then the mid lane is very stable. So, like, I don't think Dinkato is going to be dominating anybody at this point. He's just not playing like that. He's picking Ahri every single game.
Not Ahri.
He needs to play not Ahri, but, like, even before that, even when Azir was allowed and he was playing Orianna and the other things that can trade well into lane, we're not seeing him 1v1 dominate. It's just not been a split for him where he is like taking people to town in the same way that some other mid lanes do.
Just Talia away.
Yeah. So at the very least, Aleko, who is the king of "you will not take me to town, I am unflappable" in mid lane. I think that's they're just going to be roughly even coming out of lane on whatever, and they'll both be doing roughly the same thing. So I believe that the Pain bot lane can get the upper hand, especially if we see VKS try to step out of their comfort zone for Smiley. I believe that Titan and Kuru will be ready to gut punch him and leave him in the mid game with no gold and, with nothing left to offer. But if they just go like, this is what Smiley is good at, we shall draft around this, and then they play to either unlock Gigo or protect Gigo, or wait for them to try and shut Gigo down and have a jungler and pay maybe a support in the back pocket to punish a strategy there, I could see VKS just taking it over. And when it comes down to like mid and late, I would trust VKS more than Pain now, which is it's a rare thing to trust teams like other than Pain in terms of that kind of mid-late decision making, at least in the past. But they just ain't those guys anymore. That's just not the Pain that we see right now. So I'd probably take like a 3-1 for VKS, maybe even just a 3-0 for VKS, honestly. But it is, as much as we joke about it, you are relying on Titan to save you. Like, there is no one else who can save you. Titan and Curry need to be the ones, I think, to make the difference here. They're difference makers. They are players that I would class as difference maker in terms of their style. Like, they are flashy, they are explosive, they are individualists, and they play well together, which is very, very powerful. So if it comes from anywhere, it's going to be there, I think, but I don't think so.
I want to go on top of what you mentioned there exactly for that matchup in the mid lane for Leleco versus Dinkato. To me, it would have to be Pain coming online through Jinkado not picking the Ari and having something that can actually punish Leleco in the early game, that would be how you try to start destabilizing things. Because, of course, Titan and Curry are already going to be doing better. So bot lane is um, under your control. On the top side, gear is also going to be very, very strong. So at least you're going to try to get your mid lane more stable through Jinkedo and allowing that pressure to be converted into something for the top side. I think you guys mentioned the Talia. I think it makes quite a lot of sense because considering they have been favoring the Ari, you want to have somebody that is also doing damage and rotating well. So the Talia fills that spot very nicely, as well as zoning in the team fight. So if they can get something like that together, I think Pain could have a edge. But at the same time, it just feels to me, as you said, 3 weeks of them not feeling like actual playoff pain or actual pain in any way. So in the drawing board, yeah, if you're looking at the nameplates, if you're looking at what they have been doing in the past, cool, they could have it, but I don't think at this moment they have this upper hand. So to me, it would be a 3-1 for VAS. And I don't know if it would go to a game 5. I don't think either of these teams have it in them to take it to a game 5 against each other. I think maybe in other matchups, but not against each other. And it still feels to me like VKS has this composition much more figured out because of how everybody is playing well individually and how they have been able to convert that into mid to late game strategy, which is what Trajan mentioned that Pain is really lacking at the moment. You get into playoffs, it doesn't matter if you're well in the early game, you have to wrap up mid to late. So VKS to me takes the upper hand on that one.
You know what? I just realized maybe I did Pain a disservice. You know, I think they actually, the more I think about it, the more I realize they are actually in form right now for playoffs. They're just in their final form.
Yeah, they've hit grand finals too soon, I think. And yeah, we'll see the Karaoke Kazakhs next game for sure. It's time, bro. Wheel it out.
I'd take it over to Xinjiao. And you're pairing with Ari.
Yeah, why not? Try it out. Give it a shot. I've just to briefly sidetrack here. I've been just checking in playoffs all the mid lane picks because mid lane feels so boring right now. And
it does.
Pain and Kaboom was Ari Karma versus Ari Karma, Ari Karma, and Ari Talia. And then Red Loss was Oriana Talia, Oriana Ari, Oriana Ari. 3 picks? 4 picks?
So before we get Ori versus Ari, all 4 games.
Yeah, and Karma's banned and Talia's banned, and we get Ori Ari 4 games. And I will just tear my eyes out, man. What? Surely there's something else we can be picking.
They won't even ban it.
They'll just not go for it.
Ori every time it's up, regardless which mid laner they have. They do it in Academy too, by the way. Aleko was spamming Ori in Academy already before they promoted him, and his successor has also been spamming Ori.
It's just their favorite pick.
So it's just it's the K-Star way. And for Jinkedo, even if you don't ban the Talia right now, they just seem to be on this fixation with Ari. So I firmly believe ban no mid laners this series and just watch Ari Ori all 4 games.
So dull, dude. Can we not just get a little Syndra in there or something, man? I know Azir is banned.
Wrong sort of balls. Nope.
No, absolutely. Completely ballless.
I was even going to mention, if you think about how boring it has been, the highlights of a different style, which was picked 3 times in a row, was the Karma for House. It's a support pick in the mid lane. It was nerfed. Malignus was nerfed, and still they were doing so well. It really shows how everything in the mid lane has been just the same every single time. I agree. It's
the only one.
I think I even preferred when the Azir was more there.
the only one that's missing is the Hui, which is a little more interesting.
I do.
Yeah.
There's a little more spice there, but
Azir Corki is a bit far for me, so.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just.
I didn't say Azir tank.
Yeah.
True. That was the absolute worst.
Dark week for competitive play.
That brought you down.
Showmaker, shame on you. What you wrought. But I'm just looking at the most played mids, and Hui is up there, which is at least more interesting. And then actually after the rest of the offenders we covered is Tristana, which I'm surprised there's that many Tristana games. But Tristana, Corki, Nico, Akali LeBlanc, Syndra, Yone, Jace, Twisted Fate. So we get some interesting things down there. LeBlanc, Akali, Nico can be playmakers. I really don't know why we all forgot Syndra exists if we're just going to be playing like Clear the Wave, scale into 25 minutes champions. Like if you're just stacking up well on this champion. Yeah, literally, like we need to see it from Pilot, we can see it from Nikeda, we could see it from House. I don't know why we all forgot the champion exists. I think it's cool, but I guess no one else does. So we'll see if we get something in mid lane. I just really would like that to get more interesting. But back to the matter at hand. Let's look at the other series, Loud and Red. Now this one is gonna be CBLOL, I think, from start to finish. I'm so ready. Please, Red, be ready for this. Like every season, you need to carry the torch into Loud and show everyone that they are vulnerable, that they are beatable. And there's never been a better time, man. There's never been a better time. The Loud formula is getting a little stale. The rest of the teams are getting a little better. Redbird's not quite adding what Sales was adding, and Reds have gone back to what was working in previous times and have hit peak form at the exact right moment. Please, please just beat them. I don't even care if you lose to them later on somewhere, as long as someone else can learn that it's possible. Like, just beat them now. And don't let them just stroll into the winner side of Grands, man. I couldn't take it.
They haven't won a single game against them all split long. I know. Like, it's the only team that's 0-2 red.
I know. Liberty did it, man.
It's hope. You gotta hope.
Oh, I feel like Fluxy might have done it at some point. Like, somebody just come on, Red, please. So why is it that Red are not able to do it? Why do we think Red are struggling against them? Is it just that they weren't in form and now they are? Or is there a matchup problem here that this Red hasn't allowed? Is it just Tino's Grefthar, or is there more at work here?
I think specifically there's one matchup. Yeah, it's the Tino's Grefthar matchup you talked about, Trajan. Like, Tino's this Brazilian faker for a reason. A lot of our mids this split have not been willing to kind of take charge and be the carry for the team. I think Tino's is willing to do that, and when he sees Grefthar, he sees a free lane.
Yeah.
Again, not because I think Grefthar is a bad laner. I just think the way they play means that Grefthar can't ever get a lane advantage. Because he's always rotating out to help Aegis. And then you've got Croc on the other hand, who's just like, kill me if you want. I am still going to engage you. It will not slow me down 1 second. So Aegis is like, oh, great, I've got a lead in the jungle. And Croc's just like, doesn't matter. I've got a lead everywhere else. And then they just like force it anyways. Also, I think Root is a bad matchup for Brunsey and Joja. Root and Redbird specifically.
They
are really good at soaking pressure. And Brunsey is one of the best laning. Brunsey and Joja as a duo are the best laning duo. They go to Root Redbird and they can't find the advantages they're used to getting. They come out and Root is the team fight monster. So it's just a matchup issue, I think, for this roster. What's going to be super interesting to me is F and Boss up against Playoff Robo. Because if Playoff Robo wins that, I don't think Red have a snowball chance in hell of winning that series. If Robo's actually, if it is Rob's day.
Playoff Robo wins the lane. It doesn't matter how Brunsey is doing. He's going to get murdered. He's going to get murdered by Robo. It literally doesn't matter if he's playing Zeri, if he's playing Smolder, if he's playing Caitlyn. I don't care. If Robo's ahead, he is going to find Brunsey and remove him from the equation. It's just, that's what he's so good at doing, that man. He's so good at taking any advantage, or even somehow a disadvantage, into the backline in the critical moment and finding the wins. It's, I don't know, that's just the magic that Robo has. And we'll see if FNB is able to keep him under control.
And by the way, Robo's rediscovered Renekton and Olaf again.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
we remember
the
this
Olaf is just nuts.
Yeah,
those are his playoff permabans that almost everybody has to ban against him.
Yeah.
And he just remembered that he played them because the last couple of weeks he's finally picked them back up again.
Yep.
Yeah, I think those might become must pick or must ban for the side of Red.
Yep. Excited for FNB Udyr and FNB Cassante to be wheeled out again against the Robo picks. He can. I'm well aware that he can, but it seems like his coaches forget that when there's anyone with hands across the field. I'd love for him to just go like Aatrox or something into Renekton and just be like, let's just go for it, man. Or Jax into Renekton. Yeah. Let's just duke it out.
Yeah, the Jax. Yeah, I was gonna mention.
Jungler's banned, support's banned, the rest of the map, mini-map turned off. Let's just, you and me in top lane right now. Everyone just come and sit in the brush and watch. Let's go.
To be honest, I would go to that version, just be watching with some popcorn, because I think that's exactly, as you guys said, where I'm going to be looking at. Robo, FNB, the rest of the map does feel like Loud's favor. Every matchup, as you said, RMC. Tino's, oh my word. what can he think of Grevthar in the early game? Really just going to shut it down very easily, considering his style. As you said, Root getting into team fights just executes ADCs so well, never getting caught, just really
Mhm.
positioning exactly where they should be. And Bronzy, sometimes I feel like, as great as they are of an ADC, they can get a little overexcited about going in, getting a little over aggressive, and getting themselves into a situation where they shouldn't be in to begin with. So I don't think that Loud, especially here on playoffs, is going to make that mistake coming out from Berlin. So all eyes on Hobo versus FMP and how that's going to be played, especially how we get out of draft, because once it gets into the game, it depends on if you're going to see uh Hobo being Hobo, if we're going to see FNB being FN Beast. But coming from draft, I'm so excited to see what's going to be the pick and change here, and if it's going to be that must on the Olaf plus what was the other one you mentioned, the Renekton.
Yeah.
That, yeah, I think this is going to be really, really fun. But I do give it to Loud over Red in this specific matchup as well.
Fair. You know, there's just such an easy argument for both sides. I think. Well, the red one's less easy because they lost twice to them in the season. They don't actually beat them in playoff series recently. They look weirdly competitive, but they don't win like the series. They never come out ultimately on top when it counts over the last couple of splits. I think this is, like I say, this is the best time to do it. If you were going to do it, now is when you're going to do it. But it's just Loud, man. So I am looking at Tinones' history as well. Lots of Hui games, lots of Medjais in his inventory. Saving the mid lane single-handedly right now is Tinones. So I'm happy if he can continue giving us some of that. And then maybe I scroll back to his first game of this split. We brought out the Tinones Cassio pocket pick. And I could go for a little Cassio pocket pick right now. If they're just going to pick Ari, or just going to pick Ori, and they're just going to farm the lane, and they're not just going to do anything, they're not going to engage, take the Cassio, get yourself another scaling threat, and one that directly messes with the kind of decisive, hard engage playstyle that I think Red are so good at with people like FMB, with Aegis, and even with Grevthar now as well. Take something that can punish them for that. So I think the Cassio pick could be a fun pocket pick that would be nice to see at some point. And I hope Grevthar is ready for that, because Kaboom was certainly not in that first game.
Little aside, I don't know if y'all recall the first time this split where Loud and Red matched up. It ruined like a good 3 weeks for me after that game, because Tinones pulled out a pocket pick.
Oh yeah, his other classic pocket pick.
AD freaking LeBlanc, and everybody did it after that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Voltaic, Cyclo Sword, Triforce. He's got. I'm looking at the build. There's no boots in this build. There's no boots. He has Shiv.
It's incredible.
IE, Voltaic, Cyclo Sword, Triforce, RFC, and Stormrazor. The auto attacks were hitting different, and when you've got enough move speed items on there, I guess it just doesn't matter when you're diving over walls. It was absolutely gruesome what he did in that pick, for sure.
Yep. He did so much physical damage, and he dealt so much emotional damage. I just could not.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the emotional damage is true.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't pull out that.
We all suffered.
Again.
Yeah, he's got pocket picks for good and for evil, for sure, Tinones. He could crush us, or he could save us. He has that. He has the power in his hands.
Yeah,
true.
But I think sorry, go ahead.
No, great. Please continue.
I was gonna move on and say, like, with Red, I guess one of the reasons why we're still hyped for them is because you're peaking at the right time. Right? Like, coming into the playoffs, I do think they look like one of the scariest teams, even above K-Stars almost, with just how monstrously the players are playing. I think that's what gives us hope against Loud, right? Like, theoretically, on paper, everybody but Robo probably wins or has a favorable matchup into the Red Canids roster. But when Red's on fire, it doesn't matter what the matchup is, right?
Yeah.
And I guess that's why there's hope for Red.
Yeah. I agree. I was just going to mention, on top of having Tino's pulling out the AD LeBlanc for the first time, it was also FMB who brought the ADTF in the top lane for the first time on CBLOL. So that's a fun stat. Of course, not happening anymore, but
one of the few wins I think.
And I was going
on that champion was FNB. He has been making the weird pockets work more than most others.
Right.
So.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I was going to go on top of what you mentioned, that Trajan for the Cassiopeia for Tino's. I think it makes quite a lot of sense, especially when you have Zeri being much better of an ADC at the moment. It works so good to fight against Bronzy because, as I said, he just famous for going in very aggressive and sometimes mispositioning. So I think you can punish that really well with a more controller, like the Syndra would as well. But then, of course, we're talking about Cassiopeia and the Miasma and taking down the movement and displacement. So I would like to see something different than the Oriana Talia.
Please. Yeah, like Brunsey's been going back to the Zeri a lot lately. Like, especially once they remembered that he's an AD carry player. Like, the Zeri has become one of the Brunsey picks, like, just for the scaling options for him, like the pentakills and stuff for Brunsey, like from last split and one before. Zeri really risen as one of his best performers.
He's only ever lost 2 games on Zeri.
Really?
Oof.
Like
So
the stat we had on on Sunday when we cast the game was he had a 90% win rate on Zeri. He had 18 wins, 2 losses. Career going into Sunday. So after his wins, he's like 20-2, which is what, 90.
Even for Zeri, that's crazy, man.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
wow.
He really is, yeah.
Yeah, clean sheet on it this split right now.
That would be a ban for me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's gonna be I have the answer or the ban ready, because
Yeah, for sure.
or suffer, I guess, you know. So we'll see. Let's get some hard predictions here for Loud and Red.
Okay.
Soph, I know you were leaning Loud. How many games do you think it's gonna take him? Do you think the Red's gonna give him a challenge, or do you think Loud's just gonna loud about and, you know, give him the business?
No, I think that's going to be a challenge. I would say 3-1 Loud. As I said, I don't think that we're going to have any game 5s so far, but 3-1 I think it makes sense for Loud.
3-1. Yeah. RMC, any faith, or have you used up all of your faith on the Pain series?
More than faith, I just have PTSD, so it has to be a Loud win.
Yeah.
I'm just broken at this point. They always just need to win. My head's telling me 3-1. My heart's saying 3-2 because I want to see all 5 games. I'm gonna call it 3-2.
Okay.
I'm taking 3-2 Red. If I can't argue that there's never been a better time for it to happen, then be like, but it's not, and I'll just be sad.
Yeah,
That's just a depressing way to approach it. And I don't know if we're actually still tracking prediction scores, and I'm already at the top, so I can do what I want. I think we are taking predictions. Rose did get our predictions, so but it's like one. There wasn't a score, so the most I can lose is 2 points, and I think I've got that leeway to play with, if I recall. So I can go with my heart here.
I'm out to get you. I am out to get you.
Don't worry, I'm hedging my bets with a very easy VKS prediction on the other side. So I think that we're going minimum 1-1 here this week, guys.
Either I almost catch up with Trajan this week because we have opposite predictions, or I'm gonna be very far in the dirt.
Yeah,
oh
you're
my
gonna be in the
God,
dirt
true.
psychologically and statistically.
After I was catching up, I think I ended at 3rd this season or something behind the.
Yeah, you had a late game run after that first couple of weeks.
After the first.
True,
2 weeks.
yeah.
Yeah. I think so. I think you might be right behind me, right? I think you're like just 1 or 2 behind. Yeah. So the race is still on here for the real championship, and yeah, I'd take VKS over Pain as well. I think just to reconfirm what that was, I would literally take 3-0 VKS. RMC, were you 3-1 Pain or
3-1 Pain? Yep.
3-1 Pain. Soph-chan, how you feel about that?
Oh yeah, wait. What didn't we already talk about it?
I think we
Hold
did,
on.
but I
Trajan
forgot.
forgot.
So.
Oh yeah, I said 3-1.
3-1.
We're all
yeah.
good.
Yeah, 3-1. Okay, good. Yeah, that's fine.
I was just gonna add here for extra spice. So Trajan on 53 points.
Okay.
Myself on 52.
Oh, I do not have leeway.
51.
Okay.
And RMC on 50. You
Okay.
really climbed back.
I thought I was further ahead, I'll be honest. So
You really?
I thought I was further ahead. I even called the last week pretty well, I think. Oh my god, she is.
Trajan, the problem was most of us predicted the same way the last week. So I think like after the second game, you were locked at that point.
Yeah, I did take some swings. Okay, so we'll see how that shakes out. That's gonna wrap it up for this episode. I think we're about bang on the hour, just a smidge after. This is being recorded on a Thursday. On Saturday, usual time. We're back to Saturday, Sunday. We're not doing Friday, Saturday this time, I believe. Normal CBLOL start time, so starting from 4 o'clock in the UK and 1 o'clock Brazil, 12 o'clock Brazil. I always forget exactly which one it is.
So it starts 1 p.m. Brazilian
1 p.m. Brazil.
time, yes.
1 p.m. Brazil, and something in that region for like East Coast, and then I don't know, West Coast can figure it out. So
for East Coast,
there you go.
9 a.m. for Pacific.
There you go. There we go. We've got the regions covered. So, and that's going to be for VKS and Pain, and then Sunday will be Loud Red. So absolutely tune in here for sure. We need to watch RMC's continued breakdown, or potentially his ascendance into a godlike being. So that there's something for everyone there. Either way, we're all winners in the viewing party. So I will definitely be watching.
Only ascend when they finally beat Pain in the final. Finally beat Loud in the finals.
Bro, they already beat themselves many times in the final. Don't worry about that. Pain has a huge winning record against themselves in the final. Clean sheet, I believe. But you'll have to tune in this weekend
second place
to find out how the upper bracket goes. I've been Trajan on my RMC and So Chad. We will see you this weekend. Thank you very much for watching / listening.